Who is fooling who? That is the question many are asking following conflicting information on the real cost of the standard gauge railway project that was commissioned by President Kenyatta in November last year.
Mambo ya reli nilisema tutapoteza pesa zaidi ya bilioni 400. Kandarasi kiletwa ya kupoteza bilioni 401. Mwaka ya kwanza tukimaliza miaka 5 tutakuwa wapi?
Tutawapegua kila mahali. Hii ufisadi wamekula pesa ya reli. Kutoka kwa mbunge wao mwenyewe amesema na aliniambia binafsi kwamba kwa hiyo reli wamekula bilioni 400, 400 billion. More than Anglo leasing, more than Goldenberg put together.
Amid those claims, the principal secretary in charge and the cabinet secretary, engineer Michael Kamau, are set to argue the side of their story before the Public Investments Committee on 20th of this month. The most important issue being what actually is the real cost of the project.
That is totally untrue. The cost of the railway as a project between Mombasa and Nairobi is divided in two. There are two contracts that have been signed. The first contract is for infrastructure, which is about $2.8 million. The second contract is for the rolling stock, that is for the trains and the communication systems, which is about $1.2 million. That gives us about $3.8 million. Converted into Kenya shillings, that's around 327 billion shillings. I suspect that the figure of 1.3 trillion comes from the estimated costs that were given for the railway from Mombasa to Kigali. That's where I think that figure is coming from. But and those costs, each country is going to bear their own costs.
Questions have also been raised on the unit cost of the construction of the railway line, with figures circulating from critics indicating that the unit cost of the Kenyan railway will be way above the cost of construction in other countries like Ethiopia. The PS says in Kenyan shillings, the unit cost is about 230 million shillings per kilometer.
I can tell you for a fact, this railway in terms of costs per unit per kilometer is extremely competitive. I will not mention other countries because that's not a fair thing to do because they have their own circumstances. But we have benchmarked those costs. And remember, across the world today, there are benchmarks on the cost of steel, so you can't really go too far off. There are benchmarks on the cost of cement. There are benchmarks on the cost of energy. So anyone who wants to analyze these costs will find that the costs are actually very, very reasonable.
Roughly.
Well, the average cost is about $2.8 million per kilometer.
Why did you go for single sourcing?
The procurement of that particular project is exempted from the Public Procurement and Disposal Act. It's very clearly stated in Section 6.1. Now, when a country lends you money or gives you a grant, the terms of procurement are set out by the lender. They cannot adopt your legal or your statutes, your local statutes. That happens in all circumstances. So the process of procurement of where there is a negotiated grant or loan are actually set out by the lender. Now in this case, the lender is the Exim Bank of China and the government of China.
Questions abound also on how the government arrived at China Bridge as the contractor, amid questions on the qualifications of the contractor.
The Attorney General and Kenya Railways went for a due diligence review to find out whether the contractor has the financial, technical, and human resource capability to undertake such a project. We have analyzed the work they have done. They have done several hundred kilometers of high-speed rail in China.
Meanwhile, Attorney General Professor Githu Muigai is also set to appear before the Public Investments Committee on 21st of this month, a day after the appearance of the Cabinet Secretary, Engineer Michael Kamau, and Principal Secretary Ndova Muli. Alex Chamwada for Citizen Live at 9.